Welcome into the bunker of General Gridiron, field marshal of football forecasting. We're about to map out the way this college football weekend is gonna go. Will your favorite team be marching to victory, or will the enemy be taking your battle flag? On this football Saturday, University of Arkansas alum Jared Jones welcomes his alma mater to his Arlington, Texas monstrosity for an SEC West clash with the Aggies. Also, unbeaten UVA plays ACC almost member Notre Dame. So grab your helmet and man those battle stations. We're ready for another round of General Gridiron's football foretelling for Week 5. Texas Tech at Oklahoma. Both of these scrappy Big 12 squads enjoyed a breather last Saturday. This weekend, they match wits in Norman with the biggest question: how well will the West Texans do with QB Alan Bowman watching on the sideline with a bum shoulder? Raider Red might ride to Norman looking for the latest land grab, but Alan Bowman or not, Double T will promptly be caught trespassing and sent south of the Red River with their tail tucked between their spurs. Jalen will be putting the hurts here all game long. The Generals victor, Oklahoma. Wake Forest at Boston College. Just off the radar this early part of the 2019 season, the Angry Preachers from Tobacco Road. At 4-0, yes, 4-0, Dave Clawson and Wake Forest have stealthily done all they can do to prep for the Big Tent revival at the end of the season. Old Demon Deacon now revs that motor scooter thingy up with a tank of gas for this bon voyage to Beantown. Catholics versus Baptists should be a doozy. Wake Scotty Washington and Sage Surratt continue to impress, and that should do the trick in this mid-afternoon ACC Atlantic sermon. The Generals victor, Wake Forest. Northwestern at Wisconsin. The Chicago Suburban Nerds played for a Big Ten title back in December. This year, the purple felines seem to be stuck in the lackadaisical litter box. In his 14 years at the helm in Evanston, Pat Fitzgerald has rarely had his teams on the losing side of the slate 4 games into the season. The chance of winning won't be great with a weekend bivouac at Camp Randall. The Weasley Weasels whacked Michigan last Saturday, and that W vaulted Bucky to the number 8 spot in this week's AP poll. A top 10 ranking. Jump around in the stands. They're undefeated. It ain't 10 degrees in Madison yet. Hey, the General ain't killing the buzz here, man. The Generals victor on Wisconsin. Texas A&M versus Arkansas. This year's Southwest Classic at Jerry World seems a bit of a mismatch. Perhaps the most exciting thing about this week was the announcement of a few Razorback gritters of yore into the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame. Congrats to John Barnhill, Bruce James, John Richardson, and Glenn Rose. Now back to this week's game. Aggie turned hog signal caller Nick Starkle already fired Justin Bieber after the debacle following last week's setback to San Jose State. Seems Nick's been donning a Bieb shirt pregame. He better have a whole lot more body armor on when he's facing his old teammates. The Ags want a big win, and to teach Benedict Arnold Starkle a little lesson in leaving. The Generals victor, Texas A&M. Clemson at North Carolina. How quickly the tide can turn in college football. Now, this is no reference to that team in Tuscaloosa. A few weeks back, Mac Brown's Light Blue Legion was 2-0 with upset wins over South Carolina and Miami. Now, back-to-back heartbreaking setbacks to in-state foes Wake Forest and Appalachian State is fostering a little buyer's remorse along Franklin Street. The Cal College from South strolls into Kenan Stadium with all the mojo. UNC is an average football team. CU in the Valley, an incredible football team. In this one, Trevor and Travis will have a really fun time. The Generals victor, number 1 Clemson. Still to come on the Generals college football forecast. Freshman quarterbacks have a kind of getting-to-know-you SEC West experience at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And Bronco Mendenhall's Virginia Cavaliers mosey up to South Bend for a top 20 throwdown with Notre Dame. Are the Who's gonna win? To find out, don't go anywhere. General Gridiron will be right back with the answer.
I was living in a shelter juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Hello, soldiers. This is General Gridiron back with you. Each week, this fabulous football forecast is heard on some of the finest radio stations all over the land. In Sherrill, South Carolina, on WCRE FM 93.9 and 1420, My FM 93.9, Chesterfield County's radio station. And everything Lawrence County, WDRO FM 101.3 and Monticello, Mississippi. We appreciate all of our radio affiliates. Now, let's get back into the football fight. Southern Cal at Washington. Travelers strapped down with saddlebags as the Angelians make the long journey north to tussle with the dogs. Clay Helton won't be riding atop Old Traveler for this voyage. The saddle's just too dang hot. Sure, the men of Troy are 3-1 and got a nice win over the Utes with a third-string QB last Saturday. But the last road trip wasn't kind to SC, and the Seattle Canines ain't about to roll out the cardinal and gold carpet for the visitors. UW don't like this bunch of so-called sophisticated Cali boys, and Harry the Huskies are ready to pounce. The Generals victor, Washington. Mississippi State at Auburn. Bo knows, Nix that is, what a win at home against an SEC West foe can do to propel the Plainsmen in their mission to dethrone that other state school in the heart of Dixie. After last Saturday's thumping of Kentucky, some of y'all are ready to ship a Heisman to Stark Vegas for Garrett Schrader to parade around. He passed for 180 yards and ran for 125. This Jordan Hare meetup pits the Bullies freshman QB from Charlotte against the Tigers' fantastic Frosh signal caller from Pinson Valley. Methinks Bo is better this day. The Generals victor, Auburn. Kansas State at Oklahoma State. Kind of like Wake Forest, without much fanfare, the K-State Wildcats have crept into the room, and nobody really knows it. New head coach Chris Kleiman has the Kansans ranked at 24 this week, and they pulled off a nice win at the SEC's Cowbell Palace in Week 2. These old Big 8 foes two-step into Boone-Pickens Stadium, rest in peace, for a Saturday evening feud that's arguably the best contest in the Big 12 this weekend. Mr. Mullet, good golly what a mullet, he better crop his program back to at least a blocked-in back style in preparation for K-State, or they'll end up with a purple scalp when the night is done. The Generals victor, Oklahoma State. Iowa State at Baylor. The Ames weather pattern spins south with a big question about the backfield. Kennedy Nwangu is questionable, but Johnny Lang is ready to F4 the Bears from the RB position. The Big 12 opener for both squads provides a chance for somebody to slip out of the heart of Texas with a little more chutzpah and no conference setback in their social media profile. Matt Rule is at the keyboard and ready to swipe right on a big home victory at McLean Stadium. The Generals victor, the Baylor Line. Virginia at Notre Dame. Poor little Irish. Them dogs knocked them over the noggin with their own shillelagh. A respectable loss between the hedges last Saturday, but a loss all the same. The best Irish medicine is a return to TD Jesus' shadow and a chance to knock off an undefeated number 18 Who's Horde. The Golden Domers know with another loss they can kick their CFP hopes to the curb. This one will be one definitely worth watching. Broncos Virginians will have the moxie and might to pull it off against number 10 ND, and they will, but just barely. The Generals victor, Virginia. We've already looked at the weekend's monster matchups, but hang on to your helmet, there's more of the show coming up. We'll be back in a jiffy to wrap up this week's General Gridiron with our rapid-fire picks.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
This is General Gridiron back with you. We've already maneuvered through this Week 5 lineup of frontline college football showdowns. Now, it's time to fix bayonets and storm the field with our rapid-fire football forecast. NC State devours Florida State. Iowa tops Middle Tennessee. Alabama hooks the Mississippi Landsharks. Appalachian State sneaks by Coastal Carolina. Michigan State bests Indiana. Kentucky makes it 6 in a row against South Carolina. Florida chomps on Towson. Yale in a close one versus Cornell. UAB sets Western Kentucky on fire. UCF rebounds against UConn. Ohio State obliterates Nebraska. Hawaii KOs Nevada. Washington State comes back to life at Utah. Vanderbilt finally wins against Northern Illinois. Kennesaw State wins the Atlanta Northern Suburbs battle versus the Reinhardt Eagles. TCU is too much for Kansas. Georgia Tech surprisingly stings Temple. Sam Houston State claws McNeese State. Purdue boils Minnesota. And Cincinnati counterpunches Marshall. Well, troops, you can now put your swords back in their scabbards. We're all out of picks on this week's edition of General Gridiron. We'll be back again next week. Same General Gridiron time, same General Gridiron station. So don't forget to tune us in on the radio, Facebook, YouTube TV, or download the Y'all Show free on iTunes Podcast. And don't forget to tell your friends all about the show. Just search for General Gridiron. This is John Rawl, the General of Gridiron Glory, thanking you for letting me be a part of your weekend celebration. General Gridiron is a production of Y'all. For more, log on to y'all.com, the ultimate guide to the South.
That'll be all, y'all.